أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى عبده المسيح الموعود. My dear Khuddam and Atfal brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The topic I shall be speaking to you about today is the 5 daily prayers and its importance. Allah the Almighty states in the Holy Quran, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that I have not created the jinn and the men, but they may worship me. In this very short verse of the Holy Quran, we have been advised, rather instructed, that our only sole purpose, the purpose of our creation, is to worship Allah the Almighty. It is not to earn loads and loads of money, it is not to build properties, it is not to travel the world. All of that is obviously allowed and good and is needed to survive. But from a spiritual point of view, the only purpose of our creation is to offer our prayers, to worship the Almighty Allah. Keeping in mind that we are His creation and He could have ordered us to maybe offer prayers for 10 hours a day or 15 hours a day, or even for the whole of 24 hours a day. But the amount of time we spend during our 5 daily prayers really comes down to a maximum of 60 to 90 minutes. And that's the least we can do to show our gratitude and be thankful towards Allah the Almighty. The importance of the 5 daily prayers can be seen in the fact that it is part of the 5 pillars of Islam. And the promised Messiah ﷺ mentions that the 5 daily prayers are the most important from a point of view that out of the 5 pillars of Islam, the kalima tayyibah, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, is one sentence which is said and done. Then comes the prayers, and after that is the roza, the fasting, zakat, and hajj, the pilgrimage. Now, roza, zakat, and hajj, all 3 of those are conditioned, and they only come once a year and can only be offered if one is healthy, wealthy, and fulfills all the conditions. Whereas namaz, our salat, the 5 daily prayers, is something that you have to offer no matter what. It is obligatory for anyone who is ill, someone who is traveling, if someone is does not have a good day, it doesn't matter. If someone is tired, it doesn't matter. The 5 daily prayers are the only thing, are the only injunction by Allah the Almighty that are obligatory in any given case. That is the importance of the 5 daily prayers. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam once asked his companions, "Tell me, if one of you had a stream running at his door, and he would wash himself in that stream 5 times a day, would there be any sign of dirt left on him?" And the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that, "O Prophet, there shall be no dirt left on him." So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that so is the example of the 5 daily prayers that wash you spiritually 5 times a day. And someone who actually does offer those properly, he shall be completely clean spiritually. At another narration, Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu states that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that the first thing for which a person would be called to account for are his 5 daily prayers on the Day of Judgment. Now, if his prayers were fine, Allah Ta'ala will order the angels to take that person to Jannah, to the paradise. But if there was an issue with his 5 daily prayers, then Allah Ta'ala will instruct the angels to now bring all of his other deeds to see whether he deserves to go to Jannah or not. Now we all know, looking at ourselves, And we should ask ourselves, if that time comes and all of our deeds are called upon, are we going to be entering Jannat or not? Are we going to be allowed to enter paradise or not? So in this hadith, Allah the Almighty, through His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is actually telling us that there is a very short and quick way to reach Allah the Almighty, to reach paradise, to reach the nearness of God. Now, if I was to visit someone and that person tells me that, listen, if you take a certain route, it will be quicker and shorter for you to arrive, the only smart thing to do for me would be to actually use that route. And if I don't do that and I get stuck in traffic and I'm late and I have a very, very difficult journey, that would be up to me. And the same is the example here where Allah the Almighty is telling us that, listen, if you offer your 5 daily prayers and you offer them properly and you are regular in them, that will be your ticket to paradise. Now it's up to us whether we want to take that opportunity or not. One problem we face these days is that some of our brothers would say that we have difficulties getting used to the 5 daily prayers because we haven't been offering those maybe in the past year or so, maybe the past 5 years, 10 years. Islam is not asking anyone to get consistent and regular in his 5 daily prayers the very minute. Islam is a religion of Allah the Almighty that has been made in accordance with the nature of human beings. So obviously, as it is difficult for us to get into any habit, it will also be very difficult to someone to start praying 5 daily prayers if he wasn't praying before at all. So an easy way would be to start off with maybe 1 prayer a day and then proceed to 2 prayers and 3 prayers. But this is a very continuous process that needs to keep going until and unless we make sure that we are now used to offering the 5 daily prayers. And to avoid such cases in future, there is a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Hazur states, advise children to offer salat when they are 7 years old and make them regular by the age of 10. Parents should remember that their children will be badly affected if the parents themselves aren't regular in the salat. So the injunction we have from the Prophet Muhammad that make sure that your children start offering their prayers by the age of 7, and once they turn 10, they should be regular in their prayers. Now that again shows us that getting used to prayer is not something that is done overnight. Allah, Hazur has given 3 years in case of children. It should definitely happen quicker for us adults, but the injunction is there. And that's especially for my Atfal brothers and their parents, that if we make sure today that our children are used to offering those 5 daily prayers by the age of 10, they are most likely going to be offering those till the day they die. And that would be a very immense and vital step in safeguarding our future generations. Another aspect of the 5 daily prayers and offering those prayers at the mosque is that we get to see our brothers, that we get to meet our brothers, that we get to know what sort of circumstances they are in. Now, especially these days with the pandemic, we have seen that we haven't seen many of our brothers maybe over a year or so. Now that the mosques are open and those of us that are healthy and are able to attend, we should make sure that we attend to the mosque. We should make sure that we go to the mosque, that we meet our brothers, that we see them, that we ask how how they have been doing for the past year. In many cases, Khuddam brothers felt much better coming to the mosque because it was a very stressing situation, sitting at home for many, many months and not having been able to express themselves and talk about their worries with other friends and brothers from the mosque. So when we come to the mosque, we share with each other and we help each other. And that again is another part, um, another benefit that we can gain from offering our prayers at the mosque. Another question, which is a very vital question, is that why do we even need the nearness of Allah the Almighty? Question is very simple, and the answer is very simple. So in this day and age, Ahmadiyya Muslim community is really the only religious community that claims that we can have a living relation to Allah the Almighty. We claim that we can ask Allah the Almighty and He will answer our prayers. We claim that Allah the Almighty, even today, shows miracles. Whereas the other world, including Muslims, they have shut that door. So we have the atheists that don't believe in the existence of Allah altogether. Then we have Christians and Jews, and we all know how much they actually believe in the existence of God these days. And even if they do believe and they have the firm belief in the existence of God, they do not claim that Allah will speak to them or their God will speak to them. Then we have the Muslims that claim that God does exist, but He has stopped answering our prayers. He has stopped speaking to the human beings. And in such an age of darkness, Allah the Almighty sent His Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani alayhi salatu wassalam, who gave the glad tidings to the world that even in this day and age, Allah the Almighty answers our prayers. He speaks to the human beings. Allah the Almighty speaking to human beings was not something that was limited to 1500 years ago. It is still something that's intact. It is our duty to approach it. So being the flag bearers of that glad tiding, of this concept of a speaking God, of someone who listens to our prayers, we need to make sure that we have a firm and strong connection with Allah the Almighty. Now, if I was to go out for tabligh today and I preach the living God, I preach about how Allah the Almighty answers my prayers, I should be able to give my own examples. There is the example of two men that were selling toothpaste. They were both similar looking, were wearing similar sort of clothing. They were selling the exact same brand of toothpaste. One of them was selling loads of them, whereas the other wasn't selling any. So someone who was curious went close to see what the issue was. The one that wasn't selling any toothpaste, his own teeth were dirty, whereas the other one's teeth were clean. So we need to be able to show with our own example that there is an existent God, that there is a God that replies to our prayers. And if we look back at the time of the prophets, whenever they claimed to be the prophets of God, the very first argument they had was that Allah had spoken to them. The very first miracle that was shown to the followers, to the companions, was that Allah could speak to these people. In this day and age, it is very, very important, with atheism being on the rise, with all other powers making sure that humanity stays away from spirituality, it is our duty to make sure that mankind comes back towards Allah the Almighty. May Allah the Almighty enable us to take benefit from this blessed month of Ramadan and to carry on these good habits throughout our lives. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim innaka hamidun majid.